Hi everybody, I'm Moncia Malpass. The Pennsylvania Conference for Women is coming up on November 19th. We are so excited to have incredible seminars, speakers, and all kinds of help for women who are working women wanting to improve and increase their chances at the workplace and grow as their career is moving along, but also to learn to quiet that inner critic and have work-life balance, sort of make it all happen and make it easier. Not so easy to do, but these women are going to give you some great tips. And speaking of which, we have Sara Diaz with us. She is a Philadelphian, but she works in the federal government for the Obama administration and the General Services Administration. So we are so proud to have you with us here as a regional administrator. And we're going to start with work-life balance, because I know you have older family that you are helping care for. They live with you, and a husband who's got a busy career, and your career is incredibly busy. How do you make all that work without everybody pulling their hair out?
That's an important question, Monica, because all of us face it. Whether we have families, whether we're individuals, we all have a need for balance in our lives. Why? Because you have families that we take care of, we have our spiritual needs, we have community activities that we want to engage in. So it's a real need for all folks. And the interesting thing is, you know, in 2013, the Bureau of Labor Statistics said that out of the 72 million working women in the United States, 70% had children under the age of 18. That has huge implications. That's why work-life balance is so important for all women, and especially when you're trying to balance the children, the parents, and squeezed in. One of the things that I'm very proud of is to work for an administration that understands that and gets that. So the president has not only pushed for telework, more telework for the government, but he has also signed an executive order in which he is pushing more and more the idea of every federal agency has to provide work-life balance. You know what the reasoning is behind that? Because if in the 21st century world, we're competing for talent.
Right.
And if we have the kinds of policies that make life easy for all, that we can be our best at work and at play and at home, then that makes us a better worker. So as a result, he has signed an executive order requiring all federal agencies right now to come up with policies on work-life balance and promote that.
Specifically, things like flex time or shared schedules, or giving people days off when a family member's sick, that kind of thing.
Not only that, Monica, but for example, at GSA, we have a new program called Work Life for You. We are now providing emergency backup care for your child, for your spouse, or your parents.
That's impressive.
That's really huge. So we want to lead by example.
Terrific. Now, you're a Latina who's done incredibly well. We are so excited for you and the way you're showing us all how to do it. Have there been any improvements for the Latino population that you've seen, both local, state, and federal? And what are some of the challenges going forward?
Well, you know, Monica, I think that for all women, there's a lot of challenges with regard to, let's say, the wage gap, because none of us make the same amount of money as the men. So, for example, as you know, women on average make 78 cents to a dollar. However, African American women make 69 cents to a dollar, and Latinas 59 cents. You know, that has huge implications, because the money that you make determines the neighborhood you live in, where your kids go to school, and so it affects you in the present, but it also affects you in the future. Why? Because your Social Security retirement is based on what you earn today.
Of course. So
what ends up happening is that over the course of your career, for example, Anglo women may lose close to $400,000 over the life of their career. African American women lose close to $700,000. Latinas lose close to $800,000. And when you talk about corporate boards, you know, ION, in conjunction with the Forum of Executive Women, just came out with a study recently, this past month, showing that even in our region, women have a ways to go. So, for example, with regard to corporate boards and the executive suites, women are only 13% in this region. What happens? What happens when you start factoring in being a woman of color? Then those numbers drop dramatically. So we have a long ways to go. So we need to understand that inclusion is important, because the studies show that companies that have more women, more diversity of people, ends up having a company that does well.
The bottom line gets better.
The bottom line,
Actually, the finances go up. So it's not just a feel good, it's also a dollar and cent
It's about the profits.
Absolutely. For many it is.
So what I'm hoping is that more people learn that women, whether they're in government, who are in executive positions, like myself or others, what they will understand is that these issues are important to them and affect them. And so we need to make sure that we have an ability to have this dialogue and show people, okay, if this is what, you know, the statistics are, how can we improve on that? And let's highlight the players who are doing the best practices, like the corporations and the nonprofits and the government who are doing things that are good, let's highlight them as best practices so other people can do it as well.
And can there be incentives or other tax breaks, something to get other corporations on board with some of these best practices?
Well, it's really interesting because in other countries, they're passing legislation in Europe to say they're mandating that at least a third of the women be on corporate boards. We can't do that here in the United States, but I think that by highlighting best practices of companies that do it as CEOs in the C-suites, we have to create that pipeline, Monica. And the only way we can do that is by having commitment from the top of these corporations, whether they're national or here, and it's all. In the legal profession, women earn 43% less. In the media profession, over 20% less. So we know that there is a discrepancy. So now it's time for people to say, okay, let's just earn the same amount of money as everybody else for doing the same job. And also at the same time, inclusion is something that benefits us all, because at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line, the ROI, and it improves if you have more women.
What does excite you about what you're seeing, the changes in 2015 and going forward, though, for women of Latino background or of color?
Well, what I find is that we're becoming more and more visible, and I like that. When I grew up in Harlem in the projects, I would tell people at a young age, I want to be an attorney, and they would laugh because there were no women attorneys pretty much at that time, or very few, and Latinas unheard of. So what happens is it's time now for each of us to take each other's hand and just bring us forward.
Very cool. Taking your hand. You've done a great job. Thank you for your time.
Monica.
Sara Diaz, and I hope you'll tune in for some of the other interviews we've done with women executives who are exciting to watch in the Delaware Valley for the Pennsylvania Conference for Women. I'm Moncia Malpass. Have a great